What up? This is Pastor Danny Givens. I want to encourage you to be empowered through UNCF. In Minnesota, the African American population is representative of 4% of the state, which means that unfortunately we don't have a historical black college and/or university here, but we are thankful that the UNCF chose to come here to allow us to see what that looks like, what a black presence in the universities and/or colleges abroad looks like in a community such as this. What up? This is Pastor Danny Givens. I want to encourage you to be empowered through UNCF. You have to be dedicated, and all dedication is a promise that you make to yourself. Within dedication, you experience trials, you experience tribulations, you experience some struggles, but all struggle is just proof that you've yet to be conquered. And so to continually go on as many have been and not allow or consider your past, because many have gone through worse and have went further. And so just be encouraged along the way.
This next panelist he's homegrown, right here from Minnesota. How many of y'all believe in God? Praise the Lord. Well, I need a little Jesus in my life, and I'm glad this brother is here because he helps keep us balanced. He's an ordained pastor. He's an advocate for re-entry coordinator for North Point Health and Wellness Center's African American Men Project. Please welcome Pastor Danny Givens. Now, Pastor, I want to move over to you because Jeff said something very important. He said we have to listen. As a pastor, that's something that you do a lot of, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Being from here and living here in Minnesota, what do you think the young people may need to enhance their journey as Jeff is talking about?
I think when we look at our geographical location, the idea of what Brother Jeff was talking about is that, yes, we do need to be heard. I believe at the end of the day, young folk don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. Flat out. That's what it is at the end of the day. So listening is the most valuable commodity that we can have and offer unto the young folk, and that ties directly to our time. So when we look at Minnesota, there's such a great social divide because on the one hand, you have the elder generation there's a hiatus of communication between us all who don't understand how to communicate with the younger generation. So it's easy to talk at the younger generation rather than listen to. And so I've come to realize for young folk, rather than fighting so hard to push against the norm, but to position yourself to be at the table, because ideally if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Flat out. I don't care who you are or what you know. There's somebody somewhere in the United States, more so in Minneapolis, having a meeting right now about the young black people that are represented in this room. And we should be represented in every area of professionalism, of corporate America, even down to being a part of as the brother was talking about, he's a professional trash collector. I find that amazing. But he was just joking. But, having representation on all levels, I think, is necessary and needed.
All right, but now, I want to bring the pastor back in here.
No homo again.
As a pastor, one of the things that I grew up in a Baptist church in Chicago, and one of the things that my uncle, who was the pastor, used to say all the time, a church will die without young people. A church will die without young people. When you look at what's going on in Minnesota, is the church dying? Meaning, is the community dying because of the young people? Or because of the lack of people listening to the young people?
I will clarify. I'll say the church isn't dying because of young people. Young people are dying because of the church. The church isn't doing a job. And what I mean by that is the presence of the church should permeate the entire community and not just the corner that it's located on. Not just the parking lot where they put the barbecue grill out there and put a little float out there and have them come out and, do this carnival day. But there should be a presence of the church within the school system. I believe Brother Jeff and I were talking in the back a little bit when we go back within our history, the first schoolhouse was the church house. For you young folk who don't know, the first schoolhouse was the church house. And so the same place that you went to worship and praise was the same place that you came and you got your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. And so this presence that needs to be felt is not allowing the land or even the community to dictate the church's presence. At the end of the day, the church's obligation to the community is to invest time each and every day, not to expect the young folk to run up in there every time that there's a funeral or something like that, but to be present each and every day, and not be present for the young folk for the sake of converting them, but being present for the sake of letting the young folk know that you matter, that you're valuable, that you're something significant. Even if you never come and sit in my pew, I want you to know that. And so that's what I believe the church's responsibility is.
Pastor?
Pitfalls. I'm born and raised right here in the Twin Cities. I've got it out here with the best of them. Graduated high school, was accepted at a major university, but chose to stay on universities, chose to stay on Broadway, chose to stay in the hood and grind. Sold dope, was in the stick-up game, did all that. My father was a pimp, big-time drug dealer. When I was 18 years old, I went to prison for shooting a police officer during a robbery. I was shot myself by this police officer, died during surgery, was brought back to life, was in a wheelchair for the first 4 months that I was in the penitentiary. They said, if you do walk again, that you'll walk with a limp. You may need a colostomy bag. You may not be able to move your own bowels on your own. And you would have thought that after that I'd have been the good boy. I'd have flew straight, but I went to the penitentiary and not having the right circle of men around me. And at this point in time, Tupac was the crave. He had just passed that year. And so having been shot by a police officer, shot a police officer and lived, it was like getting a Purple Heart. Now I'm in the penitentiary. I'm the dude. I'm the man on campus. I'm calling it. I got guys underneath me. But on the inside, I knew I'm born a leader. I know that. And I believe that leadership is something that has to be cultivated inside of us. I believe as an African-American people, the gift that God has given us among many is the gift of influence. We have the ability to lead and influence like no other people on the face of this earth. But you can't allow your gifting to take you where your character can't keep you. You can't allow that. And so I allowed my gifting to take me to these places, even in the penitentiary, to where I created the same culture in the penitentiary that I had on the street. So I was over in the corner with my fingers twisted and trying to smuggle in some dope to get high and, duck the police on the inside. It was the same thing. And then I came to this realization that this ain't living. I think Beanie Siegel and them had a song that said, this can't be life, this can't be love, it's got to be more. I realized that, and you know what it took for me? A prison guard came and asked me, said, Mr. Givens, what are you doing here? Now here's the captor asking the captive, what are you doing in my house? It's obvious what I'm doing here. I committed a crime, but really he was asking the question in my soul because like Brother Jeff, I have a call in my life. I'm also anointed. And not because I have pastor before my name. At the end of the day, I'm just one from among you. Because anytime God has done something great for people, he always raises up one from among you. Read throughout the Bible, the Quran, or any other book that you subscribe to. You'll see that he always used the ordinary people. He used the people who look like them, who talk like them, who walk like them, so that they could identify. If you thought Moses didn't look like the people who were in captivity, come on now, he couldn't have brought somebody else from some other land to come in and bring him out. It had to be one of theirs.
Absolutely.
So it presents another set of challenges because now then I made this decision. I said, something has got to change. So it was prophesied on my life when I was 11 and 13 by two different people that said that you would be a preacher when you got up. I'm thinking, yeah, right, man. I got my Adidas jog suit on, my curl was laid, I'm getting it in. What is you talking about, man? I ain't preaching nothing, messing up my corner. Yeah, for sure. I got another product I'm pitching. And so, but there was this moment of clarity, as Brother Amir talked about, for me, where I had to realize that who I wasn't determined by where I was in my life. The penitentiary, my situation wasn't a defining moment for me. Rather than I add the definition to the environments that I'm in, because within every environment there's a set of instructions, but you have to obey the instructions of life for yourself in order to change the environment. So I did. I gave my life to the Lord in June of 2008. June 8th, it was the Saturday morning. It was 10:26 a.m. I was sitting back there in the center's row where that brother is up there. Right? I'm just playing. But I gave my life to the Lord. And the interesting thing is that I didn't go after it. And the same thing that you said was something that God had dealt me. He said, it's not your swag. It's not that you're handsome or that you have a way with words. It's the imago Dei. It's the image of God inside of you that draws people to you.
Absolutely.
That's what and when I came to that realization, I realized that, man, I'm really not, all that great because the totality of my decisions landed me in a penitentiary. But then I embraced a new set of principles to govern my life. I still have my personality. I still was charismatic. I still had a way with people and was persuasive and all. But I was using it for a greater good. While I was in the penitentiary, I began to impact change right then and there. A reputation is a hard thing to live down, because some people just aren't willing to let go of the lie. But you know, I never spend more time on a critic than I would a friend. I never spend more time on a hater than I would a friend, flat out. And so I allowed myself to take on this new identity. Now, when I came home from prison just a little over 2.5 years ago, the world was totally different after doing 12 years in the penitentiary. Went in at 18, got out right before my 31st birthday. Now, my enemy wasn't some brother on the corner that, you know, maybe it didn't have a good run ever since I had stuck him up in the dice game. My enemy in my mind was the chief enemy who had the authority and law to shoot and kill. It was the police. So imagine now, here it is, this guy who has been out here gangbanging and all this, but having a fear of being pulled over. Wondering what's going to happen when they run my name, because now I didn't just go down for just shooting some brother or somebody else. I shot a police officer, and I say that in all modesty. I'm not proud of that. And I had to really accept that there's a scripture in the Bible that says when a man's ways are pleasing before the Lord, he'll make even his enemies be at peace with them. And I knew I was pleasing before the Lord. I came home, and the first thing I did, I didn't go to the club. I didn't go to Karma. I didn't go to Elixir. I didn't go to Epic. I wasn't trying to go catch Jeezy and all that. Not that I have anything against them. I came and I went to the house of the Lord. And the reason why, the church didn't come for me. They didn't come pick me up. They weren't coming to see about me. They weren't putting money on my books and making sure my mama was all right. The church actually turned their back on me when I went in. But I didn't allow one man's failure to determine the success that I would have in life. And I said, well, I'm going to be the difference. This is what I set out to do. Now the women were coming. I too liked the attention, but I knew in my mind, I can't keep mistreating God's daughters and be expected to be honored as a royal priesthood, as a holy nation. And so I knew that there was going to be a lot of beautiful women here today, so I came strapped. I brought my wife, Queen Rosin. Give it, stand up, baby. Stand up, Queen. I brought my wife. And if this was in another state, I'd have brought her there too. Y'all would have just had to factor it into the budget. Flat out. Because it says, you know, 2 are better than 1, and 3/4 cord is easily broken. So I knew. And so I continually make decisions to honor myself, to honor God and others. I'm not judgmental, but that was the pitfall. So now on the other side, I do work with those who are in reentry. Right up at North Point Health and Wellness Center for the African American Men Project. I'm in the community every day, doing the work, hitting the streets. I'm not scared. I ain't running from nobody. Ain't nobody looking for me, and ain't nobody mad but the devil. I'm still looking good, still riding good. As y'all can see, I ain't missed no meal. So on the good, on this side, it is a good life. You ain't got to cut no corners to get to where you're going. And I want to leave you on this note. One of the goals I said to myself is I didn't want to be an ignorant black preacher. I said I want to be an informed believer, because I believe before you could preach to the people, you have to teach the people. But I can only give out what's already been poured in.
Absolutely.
So I'm in school. I graduated from Bethel University in the spring with a degree in Christian ministries.
That's what's up, brother.
And I don't aspire just to be a pastor because I know our people are hurting. I'm also then now going to grad school for marriage and family therapy, because I believe that the social dynamic of the family system in our community has to be healed, has to be set free. And so that's the work that I'm doing, and that's the solution, that's the recovery for me.